Welcome to the Engineering, Emotions, and Energy Podcast, where you can relax, recharge, and reconnect. And now, your host, Justin Wink.
Welcome to the show. Today, I have a very important guest to talk about a very important topic for anybody, regardless if you're in a relationship, not in a relationship, want to be in a relationship, could care less about relationships. We are talking about love with Allison Goldberg. She is a creator whose work has been covered by Good Morning America, NPR, the LA Times, and more. Most recently, she's worked with the Scooter Braun Project, and together they sold an audio version of one of her shows about breakup texts. And she's currently working on a live comedy dating show, which is where I got to meet Allison through. I was actually on this comedy dating show. It's called Love Isn't Blind. You can find out more about that at loveisn'tblind.co. It's not .com. Apparently,
the .com was taken. It's very sad.
I thought it was because the comes later after your.
Oh, I like that. I could add that into my marketing. But yeah, the .com is. I want the .com. If you want the .com,
give it up.
Yeah,
she's worth it, and she's also a graduate of Yale University. So welcome to the show, Allison. You can also find her on social media. She's at Allie_Goldie. So it's ALLI_GOLDI. On Instagram, I think all the things. There's like 45 things now, right?
Instagram, TikTok. You can tip me on Venmo. It's all the same.
So I'm curious about Yale University. Was that like top choice, or were you second runner up to Harvard, or?
No, well, I applied early decision to Yale a million years ago and got in, and that was that.
Congratulations on getting like the first, because I was never able to get like first choice. I usually got like a couple under, like it's like, oh, this is like a top 3 school or a top 5 school.
Yeah.
But people just remember like the top 3 or the top couple. So congratulations on.
Well, I'm also from, I went to public school, and I'm from an area where it's interesting because when I was in my early 20s, I tutored kids in Manhattan, and I just felt bad. Some of these kids, I was like, you're more accomplished than I am, and you're not going to get in. And they didn't get in. And I mean it. They were incredible children. They were unbelievable. But there's only so many kids they're going to take from Manhattan. And I grew up in a little suburb of Baltimore, and that was that. So I'm just downplaying myself here. But but it was a good time. And I have a lot of college friends still in my life. I did a show on Friday, and a bunch of my Yale friends came, which was really great.
So I want to lead into the main topic. And I thought, what better way than to sort of ask the question as was asked best by Hathaway in his 1993 debut album, which I found was called The Album. The way he put it was, baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. No more. What is love? So to you, Allison, what is love?
Well, I have to actually, before we even dive in, I have to give you such props because you were such a good sport. I don't know if you're going to play this clip. You know what clip I'm talking about, but your cousin threw you under the bus, and you were such a great sport. And actually, it made me really love and respect you. So that is my answer to what is love. I don't know. It's such a complicated question, but I do feel like we are living in a world. This is hypocritical of me because we're on a podcast right now, but we're living in a world where there's, not as much human connection. And I think it's really interesting that everyone complains about the dating apps. They complain that they're not making real life connections. But then, if a guy approaches you at a bar, people freak out. They run away. Like, we're complaining about swiping and stuff like that. And we're not fostering real life connections. And that's something that I find really interesting. And something that's so much fun in this show that I'm doing, Love Isn't Blind, is that the battery, I should back up a little. We did it. You were one of my contestants at a private members club, so the dynamic's a little different. But at my live shows in LA, people stick around for the rest of the night, just mingling. They have such an excuse to meet each other. Everyone's exchanging numbers.
To be around people. Yeah.
Yeah,
this
it's
place
really
is
fun.
Yeah, within 5 minutes, everybody's gone because they all have things to do, people to see. And because you were ready, like you had all these like things planned and activities, and
Yeah.
you were like, nope, got too much stuff going on.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's different at the Battery. Like it's members only. They already kind of do know each other to some extent. But yeah, in the public live shows, it's like people just can't wait to mingle after the show. And there's been a lot of dates coming out of the show. And there's actually a few couples now, which is really exciting because the show's relatively new. I just started it. My first one was September 29th. And there are a few couples. There's one couple in particular that met in the December show in the audience. And he met her parents 2 weekends ago. And I am invested.
that's the big success, right? Is if there is actually couples out of these things. And I don't even know if the dating apps, what they actually say is true half the time when they talk about their quote unquote successes, like from Match.com and old school eHarmony. But
Yeah,
like the fact that you have that much success already, I think just leads to what I think everyone actually wants out of finding love is fun, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah. It should be fun. I want meeting people to be fun again. But you would know about this better than I would because you work in tech. But I just don't feel that the apps are actually designed to be deleted, despite that being Hinge's tagline. Like they're
it's
just
great
not.
marketing.
They're for
It's great marketing.
they're there for user retention. They want you to stay on. It's like playing the slot machines. So it's completely addictive. They're actually, I was listening to something where it's like they literally are designed to be similar to gambling, where it's like gives you that dopamine hit, you're addicted, and every now and then someone wins and that keeps you swiping. But they're not designed to be deleted.
Yeah, because if you actually found your soulmate, to use eHarmony's, old school, I did try that like 15 years ago, and like turned out like my soulmate, according to eHarmony, was like, some obese woman missing teeth that didn't have any education. That was my soulmate, according to eHarmony back at the time.
I have a friend that I think it was eHarmony. They told him they had no one for him. Apparently there's like a tiny percentage of the population where they're like, you're too weird and we do not have a soulmate for you.
Well, and I think they got in trouble because I think it was for a long time, if it was if you were like a homosexual, it was 100% there was nobody for you.
Yeah.
Which is, not cool.
I'm actually doing the first gay version of Love Isn't Blind at the Battery on June 30th.
Ooh.
So I'm excited about that.
Is it all men? All
It's going to be all men. Yeah. I also am close to having a bi show here in LA. But yeah, the Battery asked if I would come back and if for Pride Month I would do the first gay version, which I'm excited to do because piggybacking on what you just said about so many of these sites didn't even have a gay option. I do think it's important. I really want in the first year of the show to be establishing different demographics as well. Right now the show's super heteronormative, but it would be cool to be able to expand that.
Oh, yeah. Well, you already said like you're getting going, you've had a hard enough time finding just 4 men to show up.
Well, that's something that I'm working on as well. I think that the way I market.
Should we talk about the premise of the show?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So the men can't speak, right? And again, the show's new, so I'm figuring it out, but I'm realizing like the way I market the show for the audience scares off a lot of men because it's like, oh, I'm going to search their phones. I'm going to, you have to write a haiku on the spot, but it's like, spoiler alert, no reality show, TV or live or whatever is actually reality. I want to set everyone up for success.
It's produced? What?
What? It's funny because nobody thinks it through, but of course they don't, but it's not fun for the audience
tell
either.
Me that all of your jokes that you came up with those beforehand, you're not making those up on the spot.
Right. Well, I mean, actually the show's very improvisational because I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, for stand-up, it's all scripted and people like think you're just coming up with it. It's like, no. But it's more fun for the audience too if you guys have a little bit of a heads up, right? If you guys just like write a shitty haiku on the spot, nobody wins, right?
Yeah, because honestly, most people, who the fuck remembers what a haiku is and what
right?
a syllable is? How often do you have to go like, a syllable is the sound, that's 3 syllables. So, and
even in Friday's show, I was searching one of the guys' phones. So, okay, again, for your listeners, the men can't speak. So the first round is a yes or no round. They can only nod. Then I usually do something a little crafty, haiku. I've had them draw their dream first date. Third round, I call their moms. Fourth round, I search their phones. I was searching this guy's phone and some really incriminating stuff was coming up. I was looking at his browser history.
Mm-hmm.
But then I remembered he's actually a therapist. And I was like, you know what? I think not only am I seeing incriminating things, HIPAA, right? I think it would be, I think I'm seeing his clients' things and it would be really fucked up. So I'm not actually your cousin threw you under the bus, but I hope that you can attest that I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus.
Oh, no, that was all her. And I'm so grateful that one of my worst fears in my entire life actually came true, which was, public humiliation. And
I mean,
and I'm like, I'm still here.
wow.
I'm here. And so I was actually very thankful. And yeah, most people are like, good job.
We should also back up for your listeners there. I don't know if you want to play the clip, but I said, why would Justin make a great partner? And your cousin paused and said, I don't. And the entire audience screamed, including myself. I mean, it was an incredible moment.
I think that Justin would be a great partner. I don't.
Really cool of you and kind that right after the show you were like, that'll be a great clip for you. And I was like, are you okay with that? Because like if you had told me don't post that, I would not have posted it, but I think it's a fabulous, hilarious moment, and I'm so glad that you do too.
I mean, I was more worried about the yes no questions, because those are like some very hard hitting yes no stuff. Because the other thing you do during the yes no, so it's either I'm nodding my head yes or I'm shaking my head no, is that you have all the men blindfolded, so they don't know what the other men are answering to these. Am I the only one that's ever been ethically non-monogamous, which means being single and not being an asshole about it? Like,
yeah, no, I think there were two of you actually that said that. Yeah. Well, that's what's
Thank you,
interesting.
Bay Area. Thank you, Bay Area.
Yeah. I was like, Bay Area, how's it not all four? Well, I take audience feedback too. And in the first two shows, people said, I think the men are looking to see what the other men are doing before they answer. Mm-hmm. And so then I started blindfolding them. But it's also really amusing what people will admit on stage. I always ask, have you had sex in the last 48 hours?
Oh my gosh, that one, I'm like, this is going over interestingly, because I had to do fucking math on that one.
He's like, was it 48 or 72?
Yeah.
Well, at my very first show, two of the men nodded yes at my first show. And I mean, it's just fun. The audience lost their minds. I mean, look, it's fine. You're on a dating show. Maybe you went on a date earlier that week. You got laid, but like the audience goes wild.
Oh,
it's
fun.
Yeah. It's so fun.
The show, because we had the time to do like context and things like that. But it's a little bit like, oh, that one would have been most uncomfortable probably for me, like something like that, to like have a random clip. And but the cousin thing was great.
And for anyone who's listening who wants to potentially apply, all my bachelors can attest. I text them every time before I post anything. Like, we live in a world where we kind of take it for granted, but like these things are going to live on the internet forever. And I really want everyone to feel comfortable. I don't want anyone to feel taken advantage of. Like, the show is in good fun. And of course I make feminist jokes about the men's listening skills and how the men should be seen but not heard. But I want the men to have a great time.
What was that, Allison? I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think the show's so fun. I hope everyone has as much fun as I do running it.
I had an interesting experience where actually just like 3 days after doing your show, I went and I tried Tantra speed dating.
Ooh, yes, how was it?
It was phenomenal. It was, and one of the things they do is they just give up on letting the men, they just let the women do the picking. And then they're just like, men will let you know which women picked you and you can go off to they're like, I think they're just like, we know the men, you're going to probably pick every woman that you think you have a shot with or something. I don't know. So I'm just kind of curious your take on.
Well, there were a couple of reasons, to be honest. I mean, post-pandemic, I really just wanted to create something very rowdy and interactive that got people meeting. That was sort of my baseline criteria. And then dating is just so much fun to work with as a performer and comedian. My girls, we do always sit around and bitch about how the men don't ask questions and the men don't listen. And this just, it's a fun gimmick and twist. What I do joke about, though, is that this has backfired on me because I wanted to create this feminist show where the men can't speak. But I want the men to have a fabulous time. So now I've actually created this like showcase for men where the men look great on stage. They're having a blast. I did a show on Friday and every man got multiple dates as a result of the show, even though he didn't win.
I bet, well, because only a particular type of man is going to probably make it up onto the stage and be willing to be that vulnerable and whatnot.
And that's true too. Like, I think it's good men who are doing the show.
Or they're batshit crazy.
Well, I vet that I do have Zooms with the men, and I have met some men who are batshit crazy, and I don't put them on the stage.
So you're doing that pre-filter because it's one or two types, and
I do. I Zoom with them. One guy was shockingly misogynist in our Zoom, and I was like, this is insane. I would sooner cancel the show than put you on.
Was he just like, what up, bitch? Like, what?
He told me that women have a shelf life It was wild. It was wild.
Oh, was he like quoting Bloodhound Gang lyrics? Like,
no, I mean, we weren't even talking about dating. We were talking about his career, and I asked him a question that I thought was pretty innocuous, and he got so mad and was like, why would you even ask that? I'm not a woman. I don't have a shelf life. I don't have to make it by 40. Like, I'm not a woman. I was like, this is bananas. But you can tell a lot also based on what men say they're looking for. Like, there's some men who just like will go on and on about the physical, and I'll be like, what about her personality? I mean, you do have to be attracted to the person. Like, I will give people that. But it's been interesting talking to women too. Like, this one woman was like, I really like blue eyes. And like, Justin, you have beautiful blue eyes, maybe green, I'm not sure. But for the most part, I don't give a fuck what eye color men have. You know what I mean? I'm like, there's no way I am.
Yeah, can you at least look at you, right? Like, look directly at you, make some eye contact.
Really?
Like...
You don't want me to potentially find you a great man with brown eyes? Like, it was so dumb. But it's been very interesting interviewing people about dating while not being on a date with them, right? Usually anytime I talk to someone about dating, it's like my friends or someone I'm on a date with. It's been very interesting. I'm really going off on a tangent, but I do think the men who participate are good men, and or they are men who I believe are working on themselves and trying to be good. I think those are the only men that are up for these kinds of shenanigans. So it is an interesting filter.
And I think there is something about just dating, being in relationships, all that, and love in general. It's an opportunity to work on ourselves and grow and like let some shit go. And then the flip side is it's also an opportunity to reinforce all that and try to get someone who buys into our bullshit and just lets us continue that. But I don't think there's any in between. It's a kind of it's either an opportunity to grow or it's an opportunity to like stay in that cave and find someone else to guard it with you, unfortunately.
Relationships are such fascinating dynamics, and they really impact so much of our lives. And it's just always fascinating to me that, like, I learned calculus in high school, but we don't learn communication skills and like empathy and like all these things that actually impact our
the most important thing in actually living and being successful as well. Like, right.
Like, calculus has a place for sure. But like the fact that I took calculus is like particularly funny to me.
But even like if you're really good at calculus, it's limited because that's my world of engineering is all math and science. There's a C in science. People like ignore it. But yeah, you can only go so far if all you know is like the technical stuff. Because like one of my earliest managers, he told me like, Justin, if I have like the greatest expert on something in the world, but he can't like share that with people and like teach other people that, he's completely worthless. Whereas like someone that's like mediocre technically, but they're good with people can be so much more successful.
I don't know. And I also think there's something really interesting about dating in your 30s and 40s and beyond. I think there's something kind of beautiful about dating when you're a little older because you do start to look at your patterns and look at yourself in a way that I think you don't have to when you're younger, and a lot of people don't. And I don't know.
Yeah, you can just go next. Well, it's just all these women or all these men, and it's like then at some point it's like, wait a minute, what's the one common denominator? Like if you're smart and paying attention, it's like, holy shit, it's me. I'm the one. Right. I'm the one in every situation.
I will say, I don't want this to come off the wrong way because I think it's actually an important topic, is that I think that women are taught from birth that there's something wrong with them and they need to be more this, they need to be that, they need to look like this. And so I do find that the women are working on themselves more than men. But the caveat is I don't want to stereotype that. And it's interesting too. A lot of the contestants in the show, like I find out later that they're like in a men's circle, which is interesting, right? I'm like, oh, that's actually really positive. And I think it's been really interesting that so many of the men who do the show, because I become friends with a lot of the bachelors after, and then I find out all this other stuff about them. And that's been an interesting through line too, that it's men who are really trying to work on themselves in some way. And so I guess the other thing I'm getting at is that all the men I know who are in these kind of groups, it's like this big secret, right? But it's like, that's great. That's great. That needs to be normalized.
Feeling overwhelmed by the daily grind? Imagine if you could pause, reset, and truly connect with a calmer, more fulfilled you. It's not just a dream, it's absolutely possible. Hi, I'm Justin, and I invite you to discover the life-changing techniques in my book, Engineered to Love. Right now, I'm offering a free chapter complete with guided audios that have already helped so many people find peace amidst the chaos. These aren't just any techniques. They're transformative practices designed to help you love yourself and engage deeply with the present moment, without even having to close your eyes to the world around you. So join us at engineeredtolove.com/sample and access your free guided session. It's time to bust the busyness and embrace the joy, ease, and love in your everyday life. Don't wait. Start your journey to a more relaxed and recharged you today, because you deserve to live a life you love. Visit engineeredtolove.com/sample. See you there.
Oh, definitely. And encourage, because one of the biggest complaints men have is like, oh, how hard it is to like find women and things like that. But what I found is, as hard as it or difficult or challenging it is, could be like to find, women to date and be in relationship with, to find like a high quality guy friend that like you can actually be, is like orders of magnitude more challenging. It's like, it's one thing if like, oh, we talk about sports ball, like, okay, but what is that?
Sports. Yeah, no, totally. And I don't know how true it is, but there's the statistics going around now that like 1 in 6 men don't have like a great guy friend or have no friends. I don't know. I don't believe any studies well, I shouldn't say that. I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but like a lot of those surveys, I'm like, who'd they talk to, which cities, but yeah, I think it's really problematic. So I don't know how I got into that, but I think that we need to normalize men working on themselves.
Yeah. Well, because I think it's almost one of those things like, more and more, I think, men and women we actually have way more in common than we like to think. Because oftentimes when I hear like, oh, women have, I'm like, I have those problems too. I sometimes have a hard time speaking of.
I also have feelings.
I think that men have maybe it's what is considered like you're successful or good appears to be easier to like reach that bar. I almost kind of go like to my dad's generation where it's like, well, if he was making money and able to throw money at stuff, like he was doing his job, you know, good enough, didn't have to do much more. Yeah. But if he wasn't, then he would have had a bunch of stuff to do. Right. Whereas I think, unfortunately, women get put on like, well, you have to look this way and you have to behave this way. And like all this, it's like so much. Yeah. And so it's just like, okay, you're probably going to have stuff to work on. Good news, bad news.
Right. So I think the good news is like all the women I know are always trying to work on themselves. I mean, almost to a fault, but that's what's interesting too, is there's this stereotype of like the 1950s housewife on Valium who was like so unfulfilled. But I think if men would open up, again, the patriarchal system's not great for them either. Them probably just feeling like they need to work and nothing else. That also doesn't sound like a really great, fulfilling life. Oh yeah, no, yeah, just work, and in some ways that the traditional patriarchal whatever ideal, it's incredibly limiting, and probably only like, I don't know, 10 men probably actually fit into that, and the rest are just pretending and trying to, like, I know I never fit in, and sort of like once you fall out of whatever that is, like you're just as bad or worse than anyone else possibly in some sort of like weird, interesting, messed up way. Yeah. Not that I'm trying to diminish anybody else's experience. What I was just. Yeah. No, and I mean, I do try to like, I definitely consider myself like a bit of an angry feminist, but I also like really try to learn the men's perspective as well. Like it was really interesting to me when some of my straight guy friends who are actors felt that they couldn't be actors anymore because they wanted to have like a wife and a family and they wouldn't be able to support her. And I was like, oh, wow, that's like even if it's an outdated pressure, that's like not a pressure that it even occurred to me, right? Like I can go pursue all my weird ass dreams and I'm not thinking of like a number that I have to make because one day I want a husband and a family, like, Right. Yeah. That's not considered like a prereq to have those things. Right. Yeah. So I don't know. It's like life is complicated. Let's talk about my love for California. I love California. I think it's the best. And I think it's way more, I'm a New Yorker at heart. I lived in New York forever. My whole family's in New York, but like, I have been stunned by, I think, culturally, how much more open-minded California is. And it's made me realize actually how traditional the East Coast is in ways that like New York paints itself as like this very cosmopolitan liberal city. But I feel like it's California that's actually experimenting with like different family structures and living styles and relationship models. Not that stuff isn't happening elsewhere, but I've been really impressed by California on so many levels. Also the flowers, they're insane. So. Oh, especially this time of year. It's the time of super blooms. Oh my God, Jacaranda season is coming up. I can't wait.
Jack who?
In LA, all the trees, there's like these jacaranda trees, and they'll line the streets and they all bloom purple for like 2 weeks. And it's unbelievable. And there's just like purple everywhere. I can't wait.
I'm surprised you love California that much, especially since you live in the Los Angeles area, which most people consider to be the worst part of California. So it's almost like if you can enjoy the LA area.
Well, I lived in San Francisco for a year, actually. There was this like crazy startup that wanted someone to come make funny videos about tech. And I like wanted to get out of New York. It was like the way I like left New York. And I love both places. I think I've gotten really lucky though. Like I think, a few things. I think tech has been really good for LA. I think tech has very much diversified LA. And my friends who grew up here even say like, yeah, this was a one industry town. That was it when I was growing up, entertainment, that's it. But I think tech has really diversified it in a positive way. Yeah, tech gets a lot of shit, but I think it's done a great job in LA. And I don't know, I've gotten very lucky with my friends here. Like all the stereotypes of like these flaky, vapid LA people. At least for me, that's not true. I'm sure those stereotypes are real in certain ways in certain pockets.
I'm sure those people are around. You just won't tolerate it probably.
Yeah, I don't have time for them.
Because I like to say we get what we tolerate. So it's like if we tolerate flaky people, then we'll probably have a lot of flaky people around in our life. But if it's like, oh, you flaked, then all right, I'm not gonna like set an appointment with you again. Then they're not gonna be in your life anymore.
100%.
Not they're bad people. Just they live a different.
Right.
They make different life choices, and that's
for
okay.
me. The number one thing that a friend should be is reliable. If I can't count on you to be somewhere, how is that a friendship?
Oh yeah. Well,
good or bad, like for fun times, for sad times, I feel like the number one thing about a friend is you should be reliable.
But to some people, it's reliable when someone disappoints. It's like, oh my goodness, they're treating me like shit and garbage, just like mommy and daddy always. Like, oh, thank you so much. So
no, they gotta unpack that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's like no mistake. Like, we were talking at the beginning of the show about scripting jokes for a comedy show. It's like most of our life is completely scripted. Like, I don't know. I remember watching like Dave Chappelle's show, 25 years ago with the Rick James, fuck your couch. That thought pops in my head at least once a week. Like I have so few original thoughts. Most people are just on autopilot from whatever they got when they grew up.
Well, it's so funny because we think we're special snowflakes, but I agree because I actually, now I need to read more books like this, but I'm kind of a jerk. I read like one relationship book. I read Attached, and now it's like I just quote it every fucking day. But what was so funny to me... Is that
about the attachment styles, like the secure base and the... Yeah.
But what was
crazy? Game changer when I like learned about that. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm being so anxious.
Did you read it?
Attached. Well, I didn't read that one, but I read another book called The Polysecure, which uses the attachment styles. And so I think that's phenomenal. Even if you have no interest in like polyamory or these alternative, just if you are single or in a relationship, it's a lens to look at like just how you are with people in general. It's fantastic.
Yeah. But speaking of everything scripted, I audiobooked Attached actually between San Francisco and LA. And it was like there were so many things that they said where I was like, how did they know the secret thoughts in my mind? And so it's like, oh wow, we're not special snowflakes. They like totally called out my behaviors. And I was like, how are they? It was crazy. I was like, these authors know everything I'm thinking.
Well, I'm curious now that you've done your show like quite a few times. I don't know. It's got to be. Are you like 7 almost?
Yeah, I think I've done 7 or 8 of them. But yeah, so it's a pretty new show.
Has there been many like real surprises anymore, or is it you're starting to see like a lot of repeat stuff? Like, because often we think that like I'm so special, like no one's ever done what I've done, and I'm guessing you're probably seeing like, oh, so many people do all the same shit, and
you know what? We are full of complexities, and even though we just talked about how predictable people are, they also are so different. And so something I love about the show is that I don't know what's going to happen either as the host, right? And what I have loved is that in pretty much every show, there have been moments where I'm just like, holy shit, what just happened? So like your cousin throwing you under the bus was insane to me. Yeah. But so funny. And I feel like there were a few others in your show too that I just died. And then on Friday, I did a show and, I have a pre-call with the relatives to make sure they're set up with a good story. Like your cousin went rogue, and a lot of the relatives keep going rogue. They go rogue.
I could see, well, because I do want to back, because like your ask is usually to talk with the mom.
Yeah.
And people who've listened to my show know that like my mom passed, and you're not like a jerk, and you're not like, well, you lost your mom, well now you lost your shot at love. Like, get out of here, you motherless. Like, that's rude.
Yeah.
So you let me swap in and my cousin was like, she was a good sport. She's like, what, Mimi? And it's because like I really don't have a close relationship with most of my family because they're all back in Iowa.
Well, she and I had a great conversation on the phone.
She's a hoot. She is so much fun.
But the moms all threw their sons under the bus on Friday. All of them. I mean, it was crazy. All of them. But the best was one of them was like, yes, all of them.
Where are these why aren't these mothers of the murders and stuff? The mothers of murders are always like, not my little angel. Like, there's no way.
Right? It was
but a guy's trying to find romance, and then it's okay to get honest.
Oh my God, it was so bizarre. But then the best, so every show has these insane moments. The best was one of the moms. I don't know. She like pretended she didn't know me and that we'd never spoken, which is fine. I was like, this will be fun for the audience. But then she was like, she had an accent. I think she's from Iran, and he's a Persian Jew. And she's like, what is he doing out on a Friday night? He should be at home. And so I said, oh, Shabbat Shalom. And then she said, oh, Shabbat Shalom. Are you single? Do you want to date my son? And she threw it back at me, and the audience just screamed. So what's so fun about the show is like, there's just something insane that happens every time. My very first show, something like very wholesome happened.
So did you guys go on a date or not?
Oh, no. I was like, I'm at work right now. I don't want to, and it really is fun, and I had an amazing bachelorette on Friday, amazing person. She's incredible. So yeah, I do want to maintain my position as the host, even though I am eternally single, but
well, has your experience doing the show, has it shifted your view on dating and finding partnership? Has that shifted? Has it been like further reinforced? Like, what has it been? And then like, what is it now? Like, what have your views on finding, because there's this whole thing on like finding the one. Like, have you ever heard of like Catherine Woodward Thomas? She's big on a book called Finding the One. And then 10 years later, she ended up writing a book called Conscious Uncoupling. So maybe you've heard more about her work.
Oh, that's funny.
Conscious Uncoupling.
Well, Dan Savage, whom I love, always talks about how the one is a myth, and you should find, I forget what number he says. I think it's like 0.67. He's like, you should find a 0.67 and round up.
Yeah. I'm a fan of find the mostly. Find the mostly.
Yeah, everybody has flaws. Nobody's perfect. And I think it sets everyone up for failure when you're expecting this perfection that never happens. But I think the show has been really helpful because something I realized with my girls here in LA, whom I love, is that, it is easy for us to get into a lot of negative talk. Like, oh, all men are trash, all men this, all men that. And it's not true. And it's not helpful, and it's not productive for us, to go in with these like negative mindsets. And speaking to all these men about their dating lives, while, again, they're not trying to date me, but they're telling me about their dating lives, it's actually really lovely. And I think it has been helpful, even just the other thing that I'm trying to do with the show is like, yes, it's a feminist show. The men can't speak, but I'm trying to create moments of absurdity and joy. And so, yeah, I want people to walk away feeling really positive about dating and meeting people and this post-pandemic world where we can get out and meet people.
Yeah, it should be fun. Yeah. It should be a delight. It shouldn't be like, I got to go try to find and meet somebody. Like, I know I had that like earlier on in my life where it was like, I got to go find somebody. Maybe if I do a bunch of drinks, it'll make this easier. And when I flipped it to like, let me like just have fun in the process, that's when magical interactions started happening.
Yeah, the other thing that I'm really loving is that so many people are coming back to every show. And my bachelors, many of them have come back as audience members multiple times and said, like, it's so fun to experience it from the other side and get to mingle with people more, Also for this show, I apologize that I didn't do it for yours, but I just started. It's just like, people don't realize there's like so many tiny logistical things and it's just me. And so I end up losing track of stuff. But I projected everyone's Instagram handles at the end.
Oh,
was like, hey, we made one match on stage, but you can slide into anyone's DMs.
oh man, I would have loved that.
I
I
know,
feel
I'm
robbed.
sorry. You
Just
should feel
kidding. I
robbed.
was amazed how much you do for that. I was like, holy shit, you put a ton of work into.
Well, thanks. I mean,
It's worth it. It's a phenomenal show. So if anybody's in the LA area, and I'm guessing you're probably going to take it on the road. And
yes. I want to start taking it to other cities. And San Francisco is the first city, since I have the Battery's been wonderful. I have this very positive relationship with them, but I will go anywhere that I get enough contestants. And I am talking to some other parties about, how to finance a tour of major cities in the US. So no matter where you're listening from, you can go to loveisn'tblind.co and you can apply to be a contestant.
And I do want to ask, there's apparently, and actually as I was like waiting to get called up on stage for the start of it, the guy sitting next to me was telling me about the Love is Blind, that reality show.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any
No, what's funny is I've never even watched it. Everyone's like, oh, you must love it. And I'm like, no, I have never seen it. I don't care to see it. It sounds stupid.
Yeah, I heard it. I'm like,
like,
that sounds awful. Like,
yeah,
I did.
Like love isn't blind. You have to be attracted to the person. Like, I think people also need to question, what they've been told they like and the societal norms that we've been told, like the societal standards of beauty. Like, I think we need to question these things, but you do need to be attracted to the person. And the idea that love is blind, like in Love is Blind on the Netflix thing, they get engaged before they see each other. That's very silly. Although apparently everyone on the show is really hot, and I'm just like, well, that's also pretty silly.
Well, maybe they've had because the guy was telling me like he's seen ones where they're both hot people. They're like, fuck yeah, let's go. But usually if there's like a mismatch or that usually it's like we're gonna like see how this goes. Yeah.
But the other thing too is I think people really put a lot of stock in looks, and I feel that it's pheromones. Like, there are some people where I'm just like, the pheromones are insane. There was this one guy, he was like, he's fine. He's not the best looking guy I've ever been with. The pheromones were out of control.
Yeah.
But like that also is like, you have to meet the person in person. But so I don't know. I've also, met very attractive people where I'm like, I feel no chemistry with you. But I don't know.
Because there's more to our appearance than just the superficiality. Because I know for myself, like sometimes it's like I could see a picture of a woman and it's like, okay, I get that she looks like a model, but like, wait, she's not smiling in any of her like. No,
yeah, you're like, I don't think we're gonna connect.
I kind of want someone that can be happy. It's like this is you at your best. You could of the infinite pictures, you're never smiling in any of them. But it's our appearance tells things about us.
Yeah. But that's also what's so interesting about online dating, right? We're making so many judgments just based on photos. Like, my roommate is like the nicest fucking dude in the whole world, and his Instagram is all gym selfies. And I'm like, if you popped up in an app, I would just think you're like this broy gym rat, and he's just the best. Yeah. So it's interesting, these like curated versions of ourselves. I don't know. But I think we really need to bring back human connection. I've had so many interesting conversations with men. When I first started the show, I had a conversation with this very introverted guy who's so sweet. And he told me, because we were talking about the show and the male's perspective and how to get men interested and not scare them off. And he was like, it's all things that seem obvious, but I'd never thought about it. He was like, imagine being an introverted guy and you work up all your courage to go approach a woman at a bar. And then she giggles and runs away to her friends. And I was like, wow, yeah. That would really be quite rough, And again, talking about these like men's circles and dating groups and whatever. And he said, he's learned that, he can't take it personally. And that sometimes it's not even an insult. It's like, she feels really uncomfortable. She doesn't know what to do either. And she runs away, even if she's interested, And so something I have talked about a little bit in shows is like, hey, ladies, if a guy comes up to you and asks for your number and you're not interested, don't be mean. Just say, great work. Not for me, but move on. Let's find you someone else. So actually at the show, as you saw, I always have someone who wears wings and is our actual wingman or wingwoman and helps facilitate. And I just moved to a larger theater in LA. And so now I have two of my friends who are married who met on the street, and they're our wingman and our wingwoman. And they're great. They're shameless. They're going up to everybody. They're making matches left and right. They're having a way better track record than I am.
I love that. And I like that idea of, basically let's try to bring out the best in each other, even if it's like, okay, well, that's your best is not necessarily what I'm looking for, but I'm not going to like smash that down, because I think that we all have the ability to sort of like, like I have, as a man, have an ability to like help encourage the best out of any woman I interact with. Like one of my things, like I always want to leave someone better than I find them. And I've also been with
Campsite
women,
rule.
with women that are like, helped bring out better aspects of me and not just smash down. And I think, too much like, oh, not up to the standard for whatever reason. And it's like, you're bad, get away from me.
It's like the courage that takes for some men. It's like, I actually have always done this just because I'm like a weirdo. If a dude approaches me in a bar that I'm not into, I say, it's not for me, but great work.
I love that because it's honest, it's encouraging.
Because there's so many reasons someone might not be for you, but that doesn't mean that they should feel sad.
Because I've like some of like my personal development, the way I kind of like got into doing personal development was through like learning how to date and things like that. And it was actually like only like a couple of years ago, I tried like an in-person event where they would teach you stuff, and then they had like, basically like models, I don't know, you would practice on. And the women said it was so enlightening for them to sort of like get to know the guys and what they were going through. Even though it was like a, quote unquote practice, whatever, there's no real practice in communication and interacting. They were just like, I had no idea what it's like for so many guys to like have to come up and deal with stuff. And,
this show has forced me to put myself in the men's shoes in a way that I actually think has been really lovely.
Yeah.
I actually got an invitation because of the show to be one of those, I hate to use the word model because it's like not, but the woman who like is they use the word model, but like who role plays with the men.
Yeah.
So I might go do that actually, which I think would be so great. You've reminded me that I should follow up with that.
Definitely do it. Yeah.
It's just,
Well, and then sometimes I think of like, if was in the other position, because it's like, if I just want to be left alone, I'm just there and I'm like wallpaper and nobody bothers me. Like, so it's actually like the weirdest thing was like, I went to Japan once, and it's like, just by being a white dude with blue eyes, it's like, I'm like a superstar and just people want to talk to me and like practice English.
I went to Japan and I had the same experience. So I know.
And I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with this attention. This is weird. I can't handle it. Like, so.
Yeah. People just like asked to take pictures. I was like, all right.
So like help me sort of like understand that, like, okay, if being approached, like that's not easy either. So it's like, oh, how can think of like, look at the other person, like what state are they in, and then like be slow and explain and be kind and like don't be scary. Like
well, that's what's fun too about having a show where the couples get red wristbands, the singles get green, the people who are confused or polyamorous or whatever get yellow. And so it really helps people facilitate. I do think there needs to be some kind of system in real life where you can broadcast, like, are you single? Do you want to be approached? It just sucks because I guess what's nice about the show is it's somewhat curated, right? Like I have vetted as best as I can, decent guys. They've brought their friends. So it's a bit curated, right? If you're just out on the street, it's like, I don't necessarily want to be approached by just like anybody, but I don't know. The thing that's frustrating about the apps too is that the technology, like we're there. The technology exists.
Oh, it could make our lives so much better.
But they don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I think about it all the time, like facial recognition technology. Like you should be able to swipe with an app for like 5 minutes and then it knows everything you like and swipes for you. Like AI to read your banter, Chat GPT. Actually, my friend integrated Chat GPT with her phone and it will now send openers on Bumble on her behalf, and it's unbelievable. It's wild. It's scary. But but the technology exists, but I just don't think that's what these apps want for us.
They don't. Yeah, they don't want to make our lives. Wait, why is she on Bumble? She's just looking to hook up.
What do you mean? No, she's looking to date. Yeah, why?
Because
you think Bumble's just a hookup one?
I think if you're just looking to hook up, or a feminine woman, I think Bumble can be successful.
Yeah.
Yep, for like finding like a long term, because what's one of the things, part of it is like, wanting to be with a guy that does have that courage to come and like make the first step and take some action and things like that. That's like whereas Bumble like takes that away. And it's like the woman has to make the first step. And like most women today, like they're making first steps like nonstop, like, even if they have kids or if in their work, like they're having to do fucking everything.
I I agree. I talk about this all the time. I'm like, how is Bumble the feminist dating app? It's like the women have to do all the work.
It's basically like if the patriarchy could create one to like trick feminist women into staying miserable. It's like, it would be the perfect.
I agree 100%. And it's actually really nice to hear a man say that, because I've said that before and men have been like, what are you talking about? But no, I completely agree. It's like this, because also, I mean, I am a feminist, and people are always like, how can you be a feminist and also like want chivalry? And I'm like, listen.
They shouldn't have to be opposing things. They can go together. Like,
I also just feel like it's the one area where we like don't get the short end of the stick. You know what I mean? Like when women are making 100 cents to the dollar, then fine, we can have everything be completely equal. But until then, well, here's the other thing. I think people
I don't agree that things have to be. I mean, it should be equal opportunity, but it's like, you know, you
I
should
like
want the
some
same
chivalry.
thing or want the opposite thing. That should be. We should be allowed to want whatever we want.
Well, the other thing is like, I think it's so nice when a man pays for the first date. But caveat, my first dates are like coffee, right? Like you really can't spend. I mean, I know inflation, coffee's like $7 fucking now, but you know what I mean? It's like, yes, I think a man should pay for first date, but I also don't think a woman should be like suggesting dinner at a fancy restaurant if you've met off an app, right? That's like a meet and greet. It's not even a date. But yeah, Bumble. I kind of hate Bumble for that reason.
I've never.
Although I think they should sponsor my show, so let's. Hey, Bumble.
Fantastic for ladies just looking to take charge and.
Which one do you think is best for relationships?
Oh, I don't know if I can actually recommend one for relationship because I'm trying to think that, like, I've met some women that have been good for dating off apps, and some have turned into like good friendships.
Yeah.
But I think like anyone that I've had like really long term, like over 6 months, over a year, was like I met in person, because like there's just so much. Yeah. So it's like I would recommend figure out how to meet people in person.
Yeah.
Like I feel like apps can
loveisnblind.co. Yeah.
like they're like training wheels. I feel like I think the apps is like a training wheel. It's like, you can practice going on dates, and you can practice talking to people, and then
it just really is so addictive. Like I am there where it's like, I think, maybe this next swipe, and it's like, no, it's not how that's going to work.
Oh yeah. They're so like, sometimes I find myself just opening the app up and I'm like, I just want to go brush my teeth. Why is that?
Why is this happening? Yeah. But the funny thing is, I joke all the time, my best Hinge date is my buddy Scott. We went on one Hinge date we went climbing. Nothing ever happened between us, but we immediately basically decided we should be friends and climb together. And now we've been climbing together like almost every week for 3 years. He's like one of my close friends. And he did the graphic design for Love Isn't Blind. He did, if you go on the website. We met on Hinge. But we always joke, we're like, you're my best Hinge date.
I love
so it was great for finding friends.
Well, and I think that's like an important thing when dating or looking is, it's like, yes, you're heading in a direction, but you shouldn't have to go like, well, this next step has to be the one that gets me to the final destination. It can be an interesting, wild ride that like, yes, you make friends or maybe you meet connections.
Yeah.
That like, not every date has to be, this date leads to whatever. That date could lead to another date, could lead to a friend, could lead to
oh my God,
a
I'm so glad I
partnership
met him. Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because like he's a hottie. He's great. He's a wonderful person. If you meet him, you'll be like, yeah, you guys cannot date. Like I'm a mile a minute. He's from Arkansas.
Oh,
talks
boy.
a little slow. You know what I mean? We're so different, but he's a wonderful person. So I do, the apps have led me to some great adventures too, and like weird dates I wouldn't have been on, but I don't know if they are for love.
Yeah. Well, sometimes just learning what works and what doesn't. Sometimes the only way to know what we like is to realize like, okay, I don't like that.
Well, my question for you, since you went down this wormhole of doing all this self-work and dating courses and all this kind of stuff, what do you think, is there something that comes to mind that kind of blew your mind about gender dynamics when you realized it?
I think kind of what's blown my mind in many ways is it almost goes back to like a lot of those things that we're taught are kind of like quote unquote like wrong, like that's forcing someone into whatever, that many of us actually enjoy that stuff, but it's all in like how it does. I think one of the things that I've learned is it almost doesn't matter it almost doesn't matter what you want or what you want to do. It's all in like how you go about doing it. So it's like, if things are done like with awareness and consciousness, that you can really, everyone can kind of really enjoy like these gender dynamics. And it can also be like, regardless of like what your gender is, like, that's why I was like, if you're a feminine woman, because there can be masculine women and there can be feminine men that just like, want to be like a man can also want to be like, I just want to be swept away and be with a woman who just wants to like cradle me and let me cry, and we all want to like be able to do that at certain times in our life. Like I've cried, with women, but it's like, I probably don't want to be doing that every day. And the woman that's going to like me doing that every day is probably not going to be a woman I'm attracted to, but we will want to be able to switch. And so there's like what do I mostly want to experience? And it's, I like being in like the mask. And I did have a chance of doing like a really awesome workshop where he had different words for masculine and feminine, because those are so loaded today.
Oh, I think that's a great idea.
But the words that he used, that like masculine is very much, like one word is like, it was penetration and presence. Like the masculine is like, I'm going to like come in and like set something up. It's like making something happen. Yeah. And then also presence, like I am here, I am seeing, I am witnessing. Yeah. And for women, it was for femininity, sorry, it was surrender. And what was the other thing? Is it like flow? Something like that, like surrender and flow. And like, we can all have those aspects, but it's like, what does our heart want to like be in more often? And especially, like after a long day of doing whatever, like you want to come home and what do you want to do? Like,
I don't know the answer, but I love what I do agree that like the idea of feminine and masculine is so gendered and really, really quite sexist. Like I hate the idea that like all the traits that I think of as positive, right? Like ambitious, putting yourself out there, getting things done, like that's all considered masculine. And I'm like, well, but that's what I want to be.
Oh, well, so I'll have different.
But I don't know. We don't have the vocabulary for that,
Yeah, because like creativity, like spontaneity, like I don't know, like just like nurturing. Like there's all these that it's like, to me it's like, well, those are like very amazing, strong, like femininity can be incredibly like powerful as well. Just like we just don't often get to think about that. Or
I guess it's like I wish that we had like a totally different vocabulary for the axis of human attributes, Yeah. Because like all those things exist, but even just categorizing them as masculine or feminine always sort of rubs me the wrong way, because, and it's still but again, this is just like semantics, really, it's considered like not great still to be like a masculine woman, but it's like, I kind of want to be a masculine woman. If masculine means like powerful leader, so anyway, but it's really just vocabulary.
Because like one good example I'm coming up is that in some ways like intuition or inspiration can be considered feminine. So it's sort of like whereas it's like masculine,
right? That's not really fair either. Like, a man has no
trait can be very good at like going like, okay, let's get from A to B, of like let's that structure. But like setting B, that's a feminine. That's that in ways that could be like a feminine thing. Is like, well, what's a good B? And so it's like, the A to B is like kind of dumb. Can be looked at as dumb. Whereas there's like the brilliance of the, the like, well, this is like a discerning place to go. So that, I don't know. But I'm playing in the space and like, they're all good. It's just like which to bring in. And then sometimes what do we prefer to be using more often sometimes? And again, like it doesn't necessarily have to go with like what we were born into. And I think there's also seasons in life and a different time of day.
Yeah, totally. So. You want different things all the time. That's why.
Yeah. But sometimes I think it's unfortunate that it's like, that it's bad if you want to be this way. I think it can all be good. And I think that's where some of it's been really amazing, sort of, with, different sexual identities and even different gender identities, that it's allowing us to like kind of have some of these conversations, even though it can be like really tough for some that are like, well, I've been very happy in my thing. Yeah. And I think, to allow it all the above that, like, yeah, some people maybe do want, maybe a man does want to just go make the money and a woman does want to stay, like, that should be allowed too. Like that's a valid experience for people to have. It just shouldn't be the only experience.
Yes, 100%. Right. Like if that's what you want, that's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it shouldn't be that that's your only option.
Yeah. And like you're bad for not having, and then it shouldn't be bad for wanting to do that either. So I don't know. I've got weird concepts of like good and bad lately where it's just like, well, it depends. Like, what are we trying to accomplish?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, everything is relative. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although there does tend to be a lot of things that people do agree with it for the most part. Like lying's usually not so great. Like killing's usually not so good. So there's a lot of
killing's not great. Killing's not great. I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, lying if it's going to help someone, there are times for that. I guess those are like we call them little white lies or something. But yeah.
Yeah, because it's like being discerning. It's like, is this going to be of benefit? Like if I tell this, like that dress looks horrible, like that's.
Yeah, well, I feel like I don't know. I feel like there's bigger things too, where.
And then there's the way of delivering truths. Like it's like, I like this other dress. I like this other thing way better.
But I'm not even thinking of dresses, right? Like, let's say you're at work and you give a presentation and, well, I don't know, you need feedback. You need real feedback on that presentation. But let's say it's like something you were really looking forward to or excited about or really prepared for and it didn't go as planned, but like now it's done and it's never going to happen again, right? It's like could be a reason for your partner to just be encouraging that it went great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's also, the concept of ruinous empathy, which is when you're so nice that you don't give people the feedback that they need. So maybe presentation is a bad example, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there can be like, you could be nice about certain aspects of it. And then if there did be that other opportunity, it's like, maybe you would want to tweak this thing. Like actually
if there's an instance where it's like truly never going to happen again, maybe you just be positive about it. I don't know.
Yeah, because like a fun fact for me, I did like sing at my own wedding. I sang a song, and I don't think it was very good. But I also have no.
Sang a song at your own wedding.
Yeah, yeah.
Go on. I also didn't know you were divorced.
So many fun. Yeah, like
which is completely valid, right? Like in the dating show too, it's been interesting. Like, do you disclose a divorce? I don't even care. But, I've had contestants who have kids and it's like, do you disclose that? Because I know there's a bias against people who already have kids. But I'm also like, if this is a group of people in their late 30s, early 40s, I don't feel like it should be held against someone. But then that's my own bias. So it's been interesting.
But some people with kids want other people with kids because then they get it. And then what?
Yeah. Little Brady Bunch it up. Okay. So you sang at your own wedding. What did you sing? And why was it not a good idea?
Oh, well, I just don't think I'm a great singer and I don't want to put any more effort. I spent like a year doing singing lessons and it was mediocre. I sang who's the redheaded guy? I think I'm like blocking out the song I did. The redheaded singer songwriter.
Wait, you don't even know what you sang at your own wedding?
I sang an Ed Sheeran song.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the one. It's like we were doing shots and. It's the Shape of You. I did The Shape of You by Ed Sheeran.
How long were you married for?
Only married for like about a year and a half.
Can I ask you a bunch of personal questions on your own podcast?
Okay. Well, I'm starting to get used to so that I can be interviewed on other podcasts. This is going to be good practice.
Well, I find divorces just as fascinating as relationships, right? Because
they're fascinating.
Thing that we've really thought, it's just so wild. Like, so when you were getting married, did you have any doubts in the back of your mind, or you were like, this is the person for me till I die?
I had a prenup, so I think there was like this things,
although we should potentially normalize prenups based on some conversations I've had with a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think going in, I was like very hopeful. I was like, I would love, this is great. I'd love to keep it great and just keep growing together and enjoying our life together. And things were great until they weren't. I'd say. Yeah, and I do feel like for us that becoming married did change things, like taking on these like identities, because identity can be like very powerful. It's like, well, now I am husband. What does husband do? And she was wife. What does wife? And her wife did not mesh well with my husband. Not that either one of those were actually us, but yeah.
That's really interesting. I've kind of heard that before, that it's like you kind of can't help falling into some roles that you don't want once you're married.
Yeah, that, sort of
I had
came
a
from our
woman tell me
parents, yeah.
once, yeah, she told me, marriage is not a feminist institution. And that sentence just really stuck with me. I mean, it makes sense, right? It's not. I mean, it's so interesting the way the culture, the way women have like adopted this, like, oh my God, I got a ring and we're getting married. And yeah, and it's like, it's like
Oh yeah, I
the
think that's
history of it is women are property. That is the foundation.
it's a business arrangement. It is a
Yeah.
business arrangement, period. It is not, yeah. And maybe there's something where it benefits kids, but probably also for the business arrangement of society, not necessarily for the health of the kids, possibly either.
So do you think you'd ever get married again?
I would get spiritually married like very easily. I'm not going to say like never. There could be some circumstance, but the universe is way more forgiving than the state of California. So
I like that. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get that. You know, I've always really loved the idea of a life partner, but I never really imagined anything else like marriage, kids. I don't know, but it's interesting. Like when I look back, even in like my daydreams as a child, like I never fucking daydreamed about a wedding dress or all that bullshit, but I always thought I'd have a partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and to me, it's like that, you know, that every day is a choice that you're choosing to be with that person as opposed to like, well, I have to stay. Otherwise I got to go through so much pain to get away from this person.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather be like, yeah, every day we're free to choose to be together. It's like any day. I mean, you know, you'd be reasonable and nice. Like this.
Well,
is
so my aunts are lesbians. I call them my lesbians. And I thought about that when I was like in high school and college and beyond. I was like,
because they couldn't get legally married.
They chose,
right?
They chose every day. They chose every day to be together because it did occur to me. I mean, my parents are actually very happily married, but that really did hit me at one point in my adulthood where I was like, they're not bound by kids or paperwork. They have chosen every day to be together. And there is something amazing about that.
Yeah, I think you answered the question we started with. What is love? I think that's love when you're choosing it. You're choosing it. You're choosing it because the other thing that's obligation. But when it's like you're choosing that this is the person I want to spend time with. I could go spend time with other people.
Yeah. Although you know what, my parents are married with 3 kids. They've been married forever and ever and ever. And on their 35th wedding anniversary, which was already quite a long time ago, my dad gave my mom a card that said, after all these years, you're still my best friend.
Oh, that's cute. I mean, I do believe there are marriages that.
No, my parents
totally
are like the 0.1%. They're obsessed with each other. It's fucking weird. I walked in on them once, cuddling. They're always fucking holding hands. I mean, it's cute. It's weird and it's cute.
That is a cute and weird that, you know, they hold hands while having sex. I'm glad.
Gross. No, I just like.
You said they were fucking holding hands.
No, I said I walk in on them cuddling. That was the caveat. Cuddling. I've never walked in on them. I've walked in on them cuddling. Okay, I walk in all the time. They're just cuddling on the couch. I'm like, what? You guys are just cuddling? Yeah.
Okay. I guess that is, to me, that is even weirder because my parents didn't cuddle. I barely thought they liked each other, but
my parents are.
But by old school standards, they had a successful marriage because one of them died. Yeah,
right. Which is crazy. You listen to a lot of Dan Savage too, don't you?
I've only listened to like 2 or 3, but
I feel like a lot of his concepts have like permeated the universe because he talks about like there's no other activity where success is one of you dies.
Yeah. Well, I did learn from him the concept of service top, which I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. Like,
wait, I don't know this. Tell me about service top. Go on. I feel like he did just talk about this in a recent episode. This is like BDSM, but you like want to serve, but like from the top, like you want to dom, but also serve.
Right, but it's for the other person. It's like it's in service to the other person. It's like there's no one specific thing.
Yeah.
But it's like if that's gonna like make you go, oh my gosh, then it's like, yep, I'll dominate top whatever in that way.
Yeah. One of his concepts that I just love and think that everyone should get on board with is just the idea that you should do what works for you, as opposed to like. I think there was an episode about people who were like the amazing relationship, except for when they live together. And it's like, well, then live in separate houses. You don't have to do all the things that society tells you have to do if that's not going to make you happy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like, I think more and more like if I was partnered, I would probably want to sleep in separate beds. And then.
Yeah, I'm a raging insomniac. Like, that's a big issue for me. I'm like,
yeah. So it's like, why should your partner also have to be forced into insomnia? Just, like.
Yeah.
Because like couples sleep together. They're supposed to.
Well, what's funny though is like I have 2 friends who sleep in different rooms very often for that reason. But it's funny because then like their kid was like 5. I was like, this is daddy's room and this is mommy's room. And I was like, oh, that's not going to go over well in school. But you know,
I mean, if they can, if kids can start getting used to like this is one daddy, this is second daddy, they can figure out, mom and dad sleep. I think kids are very
no, it's just the
adaptable.
judgment of other
adults.
people, right? Of like teachers thinking they have a bad marriage, and it's like, no, they just like sleep. Like, I love sleep. Don't fucking wake me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, once I can get to sleep, I want to stay as long as I can. It feels so good.
No, I hate mornings. I have a 8 a.m. flight tomorrow, and I'm already dreading it.
Yeah, I was starting to wonder with our interview. I was like, is it noon? I hope noon's not too early.
No. Well, I am like a very like type A artist. I also feel like I'm so lucky to be doing what I'm doing. And the result is that I treat it like it's a job, right? Like doesn't matter if I have a gig that night or whatever. I wake up every day and I'm like, all right, what can I get done? Do I need to edit something? Do I need to, you know what I mean? So I treat it like a day job. I often go to a co-working space and I like work standard hours. Just for me personally, it's a slippery slope. Like if some days I don't start till noon, some days I start at 9, then it's like, I have to be my own boss. Yeah,
it's your thing, and you'd love it. So
I do love it.
I'm guessing you're not doing hard work, but you are working. You're putting in effort, and it requires discipline. Yeah, I kind of like to say, fuck hard work. Like if it feels hard, you probably shouldn't be doing it. It's like,
right. No, I can't believe this is my job. I can't believe it. Like because for me, it's been full time for a while where I just get to like make fucking weird shit. We didn't even talk about my other project, which is totally fine. I think it's too late. You can go to AllisonGoldberg.com. But every day I wake up and I'm like, how is this real life? And then I'm like, I hate mornings, But yeah.
Yeah. And I think everyone has the capability to like find that zone that you're in. And that's I think you're good inspiration and you're hilarious and you're doing like the Lord's work, trying to bring people out of the house together and experience love.
Yeah.
Any last words? I'll, tell people where to find you once more before letting you go. Because we've been having
apply to be a contestant. I promise I'll, talk you up. You'll have a great time. You can apply wherever you are. loveisn'tblind.co, and all my projects are at AllisonGoldberg.com. But thanks for having me, and thanks for doing the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was fun to be on the show and fun to have you on here. It's been great. And next time you're in San Francisco, I'll stop by whatever it is you're doing. And if I'm in LA, I'll try to find.
Well, let's plug my friend Jenny's art show, April 8th. I'm going to be up in San Francisco for her show. Actually, I wish I had more details, but you can find her on Instagram at Jenny Feinberg. And I'm going to be at her show April 8th. And then a beautiful art show. If you're looking to purchase art, whatever, come on by. And then I'm going to be at the Battery again June 30th. And I think the Battery's going to have me back to do some more stand-up soon too. So we'll see.
Wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful. So if you're in the San Francisco area, let me know, or find Allison on, AllisonGoldberg.com or at Allie_Goldie on Instagram, TikTok, all the fun places. So thank you so much, Allison. It's been a pleasure and so much fun. Maybe we'll do it again sometime. So
sounds good. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
If you want to contact the show, email me at podcast@justinwink.com. That's Justin, WENCK. And find me on social media, Justin Wink, Ph.D. on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and YouTube. And if you want ways so that you can relax, recharge, and reconnect, find the Tuesday 20 every Tuesday at 12:05 p.m. Pacific. It's only 20 minutes, and it's going to get you relaxed, recharged, and reconnected. It's on YouTube, and it's on Facebook. So looking forward to seeing you there.